Well, hello, Scholarly Gamers, and welcome to Jungle Drums. This is actually going to be the last Jungle Drums of 2017, and if you're keeping count, it'll be episode 44, I believe. Yeah, 44. Yeah, hey, 2017, what a year. I'm, of course, joined by my good friends Gimboyd and Jay, who we've all got festive names, and a happy new Gimboyd to you. Auld Lang Jungle and Sergeant Resolutions. How we doing, gents?
Good, good. How are you?
Recovering from Christmas.
Yeah, just the food comas. It's amazing. At least I took it easy. I didn't have as much cheese as what I had on holiday. I think that was a good preparation. I did not hit a cheese wall during Christmas. But oh yeah, not bad. Not a bad holiday season, and of course we've still got New Year's to get through. But yeah, so this year in Jungle Drums, we've talked about so many different things. I mean, just looking at some of the episodes here, I mean, we've talked about a lot of tech. We've Ubisoft came up a lot. We've talked about a lot of Ubisoft games. Obviously,
that's all we play now.
That is all we play now.
That is all we play now.
Mostly, yeah. We talked about a lot of Destiny 2, because obviously we were looking forward to its release. And then likewise, after it's been released, we've talked about it quite a lot. And there was also a lot of hardware stuff to discuss this year, because AMD was making all sorts of moves with its processors, things like Threadripper, the video cards that came out, obviously the Vegas, which, well, didn't quite turn out as we hoped. But then even like some of the top-of-the-line NVIDIA stuff, the new Intel processors that came out, a lot of stuff has happened in the tech and gaming world. And then even with the new consoles, well, because PS4 Pro was last year, right? That was 2016?
I believe so, yeah. I'm pretty sure it didn't come out this year.
Yeah, because that came out with the VR, I'm pretty sure.
Could be wrong, though.
But the One X obviously was one of the big deals of 2017. So no, a lot of stuff's been covered on each episode of Jungle Drums throughout this year. So we figured for the last one of 2017, we're not going to discuss any news item, nothing new that's came out. Instead, we're just going to discuss amongst ourselves kind of what our highs and lows, I suppose, of 2017 were when it comes to gaming and tech. So I mean, in general, 2017 was a real mishmash. I mean, wasn't it? There was a lot of super crazy hits, games that were super hyped up and actually did well, games that were super hyped up and didn't, games that no one had ever even heard of that out of nowhere just kicked ass. And then likewise, there was also a whole bunch of crap. So who wants to kick us off with some gaming lows of 2017?
I'm going to throw out there with Battlefront 2 and just what it did. You know what? It's close. Recent bit of news. Why not?
It's true. I mean, it was a bit controversial, to say the least, how they handled their loot boxes, I suppose. I mean, it's just the way it was kind of... It's one thing, we've discussed this before, how it's cool when it's cosmetic items and little add-on things and whatnot, but when we're talking about actual, progression being locked behind those loot boxes, that was pretty ridiculous.
I think it was almost a good point as well, though, because it did show that, these companies will, I say, backtrack slightly if there is enough media about it, and news and whatnot, but how likely it is for it to stay that way, still not too sure, really.
Because, when it comes to that game as a whole, that was, to be honest, I was never really that interested in buying it, and so that whole loot box thing didn't affect my decision either way. Like, it didn't put me off the game, because I honestly wasn't drawn to the game to begin with.
Yeah, this is fair enough.
What about, you guys did it?
Well, I was thinking about buying it, but I think a lot of it was, the money at the time, and to be fair, yeah, I think that did partly put me off as well. Knowing that, somebody who could have spent, if that would have gone through, could have spent more money than me, could have just kicked my ass, and the game wouldn't have been enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And buy games for them to be enjoyed as a consumer. Yeah, okay, companies make them to make money. Nowadays, what it feels like, but I don't play games to be spending crap tons of money on it. To be able to enjoy it, I expect to be able to pay what I want to pay. In this case, the base price of the game, and enjoy it. And if that's going to break something like that, then not going to be as fun, is it really?
I wanted to love the game. I wanted to, but they went and ruined it, didn't they? They thought, oh, we got this big license, got the Star Wars name. Let's run it into the ground and make as much money as possible. And yeah, turns out that's the best way to make a lot of very angry people hate you.
Yeah. No, because I mean, even if you take that loot box out of the equation, I mean, I know that ultimately affected how long it took to unlock things anyway, because that's another issue the game had, was the amount of, you know, time it would take to unlock the heroes. But even taking that out of the equation as well, and from what I've read and seen and heard, a lot of people just were found the game quite wanting. You know what I mean? Like, the campaign itself is fairly short, just, you know, a couple hours, which, okay, we can expect from these type of multiplayer primary type of games.
Yeah, multiplayer focus.
Yeah, just, but even beyond that, just a lot of people that I've watched and read from just said that, well, it was cool, but, you know, it didn't quite deliver what they were hoping it to do. So their controversy obviously didn't help it either, but it just seems, even if you take that away, that the game itself was not as great as it could have been.
I think it's quite overhyped a bit as well, with
Oh, vastly so.
in regards to it, especially seeing as at the moment, as you say, Star Wars is quite a big thing, so I think a lot of they're sort of running on that hope as well, weren't they? And yeah, I do feel it was a bit overhyped as well, which is probably half the problems.
Yeah, the industry at the moment's really good at that. Really good at overhyping things.
They are to give them credit, they are very good at their advertising and marketing, which is a shame, really, considering a lot of the time the end product isn't that great.
Yeah.
The big problem with it all.
No,
that's what's going to sell the game, though, isn't it? Is that marketing, really?
That is a bit of a shame. I think for me, my biggest disappointment of 2017, and it was something that I'd actually forgotten about. It was something that I had put this painful memory away. I'd locked it away, and you know, I haven't thought about it in ages. And now I just glanced at it, and I feel re-traumatized. And of course, it was the cancellation of the game that I was honestly so excited about, and that, of course, is Scalebound. I was so, as soon as that was first announced at the E3 a couple of years ago, I was following that game. I was so looking forward to it. I couldn't wait until there was going to be an alpha or a beta and I could actually, you know, get my hands on it. And for that to be cancelled, it just pisses me off. Especially when you look at something like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds that gets released in, I mean, I know it's early access, but the state that it was released on console, you know, you're telling me that Scalebound was even in worse shape than that? Piss off. No way. It couldn't have been. It just, for me, that just really, because that happened quite early on in the year, I think that made me lose hope for gaming for 2017. Honestly, I mean, I know there's a bunch of other stuff that came out and whatnot, but that was the one title I was so looking forward to. And to get that taken away, well, from all of us. And then not only that, but to have it blocked by Microsoft and, you know, retaining the rights to it, making sure, you know, that they owned it, just...
Yeah, that's not good, is it? How would you say? And there goes your potential chance of that coming back out.
Yeah, exactly. At least, okay, if you want to kill it, fine, but let the studio, you know... Okay, Microsoft, you don't want anything to do with it? Fine, that's great, cool, but please let someone else just pick it up. But nope, denied.
Nope.
Yeah, so I think that was my biggest low of 2017 for me personally. What about you, Gim? What stands out for you?
Well, it's a mix-up between either Mass Effect Andromeda, because that's just possibly one of my favourite franchises. And it was clearly rushed and farmed out to smaller studios to do stuff. Like we saw with the animations, and everything wasn't quite up to scratch with the other games. Or the big one, Destiny 2, pulling their own game apart to put it in loot boxes you have to pay for. Really sort of
funny trend, isn't it, in 2017?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But EA might have got too greedy and killed it for everyone. So.
Yeah, no, I think those are good points. I mean, Mass Effect Andromeda is, you know, I didn't play it. I never really got into the whole Mass Effect series, but from a lot of other people, you know, seeing how other people enjoyed it, it's quite interesting when I do see the kind of, you know, the different opinions of it, because, you know, there's so many that are so quick to slate it, you know, for some of its little, you know, well, stuff that's broke with it, and then a lot of people, you know, then also try to come and defend it. I mean, like even in Scholarly Gamers, so many folk, there's a good handful of people that had that nominated, and they're not as necessarily their number one, but in their top 3 for Game of the Year 2017. And it's just interesting because, you know, like you say, it's not by no means perfect. I mean, even with its exploration aspect, it's quite planet light, isn't it, really, in the grand scheme of things? Compared to, I think, what people imagined it would be.
Well, it's literally just a handful of star systems in this tiny little cluster, really, compared to the galaxy that we had in the other 3 games. Because of the whole, you're in a different galaxy, we can't take mass relays with us, we don't know how to build them, sort of thing. So, but yeah, it's, I don't know, it's the, I'm trying to think of how to put this now. There is a core of a good game there, it's just, it was clearly so half-assed and rushed and pushed through and farmed out to smaller studios that, quite frankly, just don't have the capability of putting the polish on it that it needed.
Okay. And
overall, you take it as a whole, it feels substandard compared to the other Mass Effect games.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fair.
Is it one of those games
on a previous gen console? In my opinion, it's just resolution. It's just, I don't know.
Is it one of those games you think if it was delayed it could have been better, or do you think
if it had the support it needed from its publisher, you know, putting their finance behind it and having the studio be able to work on it as long as they needed to, yes, much definitely would have been a better game. There's also the fact that it was the one of the arcs was missing, and it's like, oh, well, you don't know where it is, the game ends, right, wait for the DLC, you'll find out what happened to it. Oh wait, we're not getting money to make that, we'll put it in a book.
Nice.
I like reading, but I like my game to be finished more than that.
Well, that's fair. I mean, I think your other game that you picked is a good prime example of something that wasn't finished, and that's of course Destiny 2. I mean, yeah. There's a game that
started off so well.
It was very hyped up, and when we look at how Destiny kind of ended, and I say ended, you know, I mean how the Bungie team basically ended support for it. You know, when they did the whole Age of Triumph and relaunched the raids and started putting all this stuff in. I mean, I think I'm not alone in so many players thinking, oh wow, this is great, this is amazing, Destiny 2 is going to be just off the hook, it's going to be ridiculous. And then Destiny 2 comes out and we all find out, oh okay, we're like back to year 1 of Destiny. Like, I know I've said that before, but it just seems like the team working on Destiny 2 just ignored Destiny 1.
But you would have thought there would have been communication, wouldn't you, between changes they're making and things that people like. But it just doesn't seem that way, does it?
You'd think. And I mean, and I know we've discussed it before, we've said, well, maybe, you know, when you look at development cycles, it's not that easy to re-engineer things, and, you know, obviously the Destiny 2 development would have been at a certain stage, you know, before things had been implemented in Destiny 1, and okay, that's a fair argument, I suppose. It doesn't make it any less disappointing. It's just, instead of a continuation, I just feel we've got a regression. And it's, I mean, you remember with Destiny 1, there was so much controversy where people felt that there was disc-locked content. There was stuff that was in the game that they locked us out of until the DLC was released. And I don't feel we have that with Destiny 2 as far when it comes to that type of content. But features, absolutely. It's just, we've got all of these things that slowly over time it looks like we're going to get again. But why are we waiting for these? You know, why haven't these things been in the game since launch? It's just...
I think what's very gutting about it as well, as you said, is this whole entire... There seems to be so many design decisions that you question why they were done. So for ages we were told that, you know, a lot of stuff wasn't done because of outdated systems, support for old consoles, and yet they shipped this game without, as you say, any cool ornaments, like from Age of Triumph, where they actually really did show off what they could do with the processing power of new console machines, considering Rise of Iron and Age of Triumph did not support the old gens. I'm not going to go too much in detail about, like, for example, the shader system, but the fact that you've got this problem yet again where people are struggling with vault space and shaders. There's only 50 slots, and yet there's so many, and the fact that you can't mass delete a shader and you have to do it one by one.
Oh, God,
where do these design decisions come from? Fundamentally, they just seem so basic to be able to avoid, and yet they haven't been. I mean, unless Bungie are thinking, oh, there's no way someone's going to collect 100 shaders. Well, you need to look at these edge cases where that could happen and think, how do we solve that problem? And it's just something that it's just boggles my mind that they don't look at those edge cases, and they don't look at it and go, well, what happens if that does occur?
No, I mean, I think I know, Gim, you've said it before, and I think it kind of sums up quite well, is that how Destiny 2 it's a good game. I mean, it looks nice, the gunplay is great and all this and this, but at its current state, there just seems to be no incentive to play it.
Yeah, that is definitely what's lacking.
You know, I mean, okay, initially, yeah, we had things we wanted to crush, like those little mini kind of achievements for ourselves, like being able to do the Nightfall and Prestige, you know, being able to do this, being able to do that, doing the raid, you know, that stuff was enjoyable because, you know, those were things we hadn't done yet, and that whole experience, that journey, of trying to accomplish those things was great. We had a blast doing those. But once you've done it, I mean, look, when the hard mode came out for the raid, none of us were really that interested in doing it because what were the rewards? Oh, another emblem?
This is...
You know,
exactly
we
that.
were already basically at max light at the time, so, you know, it just... They've just missed a trick in my mind, you know, they just... I mean, it's cool that now it's on PC as well, which...
Yeah.
Is great, but then, you know, that's a bit bittersweet for me as well, because, like, I know I'd love to play it on PC, but for me, Destiny, and now Destiny 2, is less about the game, but more about the people I play it with. You know, that's where I get the enjoyment from that game, is when we're having a laugh, you know, when we're kind of doing things. It just...
Well, it's exactly that, isn't it? I mean, I personally wouldn't mind for PC, but the reason I haven't got it for PC is not necessarily because of I haven't got the people I can play with, it's because I don't enjoy the game now. Why would I buy it a second time when I barely play it on my Xbox? And then you come to their first expansion, Curse of Osiris, which was a humongous letdown. It really was. Been quite a few people that have liked it having less content than Dark Below. Don't know how much of that I agree with.
It felt like less.
Yeah, it did.
That's probably because we were expecting more.
Right, you look at things like the Infinite Forest, something that, yeah, again, was hyped up. Again, bringing this whole entire hyper marketing thing, hyped up like Lost Sectors, and was just complete and utter, just flat out let down. Lost Sectors, for example, being the fact that they're lost, but yeah, they're marked on your map.
I mean, I find it funny. We know that Destiny 2 at the moment has lost a lot of its player base. People are playing other things. To the point where I saw on the Xbox dashboard the other day, they were doing a 45% off Destiny 2.
It's been bundled in with other games as well.
Yep.
Bundled in with Call of Duty.
And I find it quite funny that Destiny 2 is suffering this slump, you know, mere weeks after its first DLC came out. And, you know, the new info on the next DLC got leaked. Oh, what a surprise! You know, it just they've done this before. Bungie has, where things get leaked when things are kind of on a downturn. It's just. I thought it was very telling when some of the top Destiny 2 streamers, within 48 hours of Curse of Osiris being released, they were playing things like Fortnite or The Division. I mean,
yeah, that just says it all, doesn't it, really?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, no, those were definitely, all of those games were, or games that didn't come out were definitely some lows. Any other horrible things of this year? Or letdowns that we can think of?
I'm trying to think now. I personally can't think of any, but that's really because I haven't really played many games this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been in the same boat. There's been very few games that came out this year that I managed to play. I've mostly been playing stuff from other years. And Call of Us. I mean, well, you look at some of the games that we play, like Siege, where that's all about seasons and, you know, each year kind of changing. Well, look, there's another game that I think we were all excited about, and then when it actually came out, we were less than enthused about it. For Honor, which obviously came out earlier this year. How can you? I mean, the concept of knights, samurai, and Vikings in a very visceral, graphic combat setting. How can that not be amazing? Well,
exactly.
We found out how it cannot be amazing with horrible friggin' connection, peer-to-peer crap, and no. It just, you know, a game that, at its core, because of the parrying and the countering and all that, I mean, the network code has to be spot on for that type of game.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And even like, I mean, I know they fixed it subsequently, but remember the peer migration it used to do when we were playing through the beta or whatever? Where, holy shit, it's a real shame. And I mean, that's a game that, even so, barely anyone's playing it. They refuse to let it die. They're doing a whole season continuation of that, like they've done with Siege. Okay, it worked great for Siege, and we all know that Rainbow Six Siege has just flourished as time has gone by, but I don't think For Honor is going to experience the same kind of success that Rainbow Six Siege has, that's for sure.
No, I don't think it will either. See, there's something special about Siege. I don't know what it is, it's just awesome. I don't think they'll be able to replicate that at all. I think they shot themselves in the foot with how bad of a launch it came out with in the first place, and there's a lot they've got to try and fix, and how easy that'll be, don't know.
No, that's definitely been, I think, the theme for me for 2017 has been just playing games where they didn't come out this year, but they've introduced new stuff for them. Things like The Division, which after that latest free update, Resistance, is just a complete game changer. I mean, that's, you know, a game that also a lot of people turned their backs on. Its community kind of turned in on itself, and now it's again encountered quite a bit of success. A lot of people have went back to it. A lot of people are enjoying it. Of course, Siege, you know, which we're playing. Warframe as well, you know, huge updates to Warframe this year. That's another prime example of a game that in its current state looks nothing like what it looked like on release. No, it definitely seems to be the theme for me. I mean, one of my favourite games this year has been Euro Truck Simulator 2, which I just started playing in 2017. Even so, it came out, October 2012? But that's a game that as they've added to it all these new DLCs, the newest of which, you know, just came out a few weeks ago. Just a fantastic game, you know, just something totally different.
I think, just very quickly coming back to Division, comparing that to Destiny as such, is Division, they haven't gone, let's bring out another game. They are trying to fix what they have, and they are doing that via free DLC. They're not trying to you throw money at your screen and whatnot, are they? And I think that's why Division has had so much more success this year, especially.
Yeah, it's an interesting system, because the Division does, of course, have its version of loot boxes. It's got these encrypted caches, and you can buy, you know, these premium credits and stuff if you want to just, you know, do all that. But it's not obtrusive, because
it's tucked away in the corner that you can easily miss.
Yeah, and you can
quite literally,
still,
it's there if you want it.
And you can do things by adding the commendation system in the game. By doing different tasks, you'll get cipher key fragments, and once you've got 10 fragments, it makes a key. So it just, you know, no one's ever chasing after these boxes. It's just a nice little Brucey bonus. You go around like, oh, hey, I've got a cipher key. Oh, cool, I better go check him out and see what I can get. And, you know, there's no doubt that they're making... There's going to be, as there always is, there's going to be whales out there that are spending money in that game. But, I mean, that's the same with Rainbow Six Siege. There's a lot of shit you can spend real money on in that game, but you never...
Like a top hat for Blackbeard.
Yeah, but you never feel that you have to. It's not... Yeah, they advertise it.
Oh, I had to.
Well, okay. But you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like it's... You know, we don't look at those in the same type of indignation that we look at how Battlefront 2 handled their things, or even Shadow of War. Another game I really wanted to buy this year, but I didn't. I just didn't feel that urge. You know, there's... I think that's the thing. Why don't we talk about, before we talk about what are, like, our favorite games of this year, what about the ones that we didn't play? You know, I mean, things like Shadow War I really want to play, but just never got around to buying it. Figured I'd wait till it's on sale. Things like Assassin's Creed Origins, I really want to play that. That looks amazing. But
that's the big one for me. Yeah,
I just need to finish Syndicate first, then I can move on. You know, or games that I don't have systems for. Horizon Zero Dawn, Nier Automata, Neo. I think you can get Neo on PC, can't you?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Nier Automata you can get on PC. I know.
That, okay, yeah, maybe it was that one then. Hellblade, another game I really, really want to play, but I haven't got around to buying. Of course, Zelda, because I don't have a Switch. The new Mario. What else?
I think Horizon Zero Dawn's really top of my list at the moment. A game I want to buy and play through.
Yeah. I do want to play that Mario style XCOM game, Rabbids.
Yeah, that's supposed to be really, really cool.
And if you remember when they announced it, I think it was the creative director just bursting into tears because he finally gets to see his game. That kind of passion you don't really see much around anymore. So
no, you don't, do you?
Yeah, no, you're right. The Surge. I want to play the Surge. I know it's not perfect, but you know, from the people that I know that have played it, really enjoyed it.
Because that's the same company that did Lords of the Fallen, which was basically like we want to make a Dark Souls and get that FromSoft money sort of thing. But I'm picky when it comes to my Souls games. It didn't feel fluid enough for me. I don't know if they fix up the Surge or not, or if they made it different enough that I'll be fine with it. But I definitely want to have a look.
No, I definitely want to.
Not long ago, they did a big DLC for that as well, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah, they sure did.
So the game's getting support like in a year after they come out or whatever, and
what were some other ones?
That's how you meant to do DLC.
I'm trying to think, and I can't. I mean, because there was so much stuff that kind of came out this year that just was cool, but never got. Oh, yeah, Forza 7. I want to play that as well. Damn it. Alright, now mine's drawn a blank. I'm looking through the list of like all the different stuff that came out this year. Nothing else is really jumping out at me. Cuphead. I definitely want to play Cuphead.
Oh yeah, that looks really good.
Because that does look badass.
just because that art style just looks so damn good.
I think I quite like the look of it just because it's that sort of old style. Here's a really sort of hard arcadey kind of game, which I've always enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Always enjoyed that kind of challenge of those sort of games.
Even if it wasn't challenging, just because the art style is just so beautifully done.
No, I'm drawing a blank. I've looked through all the things, and there's I think things that I want to play we've already briefly discussed.
A lot of the games on Switch look good.
Yeah,
I think it's been a very good year for games. It's just been shadowed a lot by
good year for Nintendo. Let's just say that.
By all this like Battlefront stuff and
Wii U stuff.
And the bad stuff, really.
Yeah, no, I mean you're right. It's so easy folk just focus on the negative, but no, there's definitely been some gems in the rough this year.
Had a lot of negative, unfortunately, but
it has been.
I mean, that's the thing. When I think of like what my best games of this year, I mean, you know, a big problem is there's so many that I didn't buy. I mean, some of the best games out of this year, things that we've talked about briefly there, you know, like Zelda, you know, like Nier Automata, like Horizon Zero Dawn. But obviously I haven't played any of those things. So I mean, my kind of experience this year has been quite different, where it's been a mixture of going to my back catalogue or likewise playing games like Siege and The Division where they've updated. And as far as things that have stood out this year, it's been smaller games, to be honest. There was one that I've played, Stories Untold, which was made by No Code Studios, which is a guy, John McKellen, who was involved in the Alien Isolation games, and it was published by Devolver Digital, and I'm quite partial to Devolver Digital. I really like, you know, anything they touch. And Stories Untold, it's not a very long game, and I saw Games Radar had kind of compared it to, you know, like a very good companion. Like if you liked Stranger Things, you know, the show on Netflix, then this is the game for you, because it has that same 80s vibe, where it is quite chilling, quite scary, not like over the top, not because it's like full of horrible visuals or anything, but just the atmosphere, and it's very retro-y, and I just really enjoyed it. It was a game that I was following, I was looking forward to it, and you'd appreciate, Jay, that it was all made in Unity. But yeah, very cool. It's 4 different little mini games. Definitely worth checking out sometime. Don't want to spoil it for anyone, but that was a really cool game. And another one that surprised me, that I played through, was that Doki Doki Literature Club. That one really surprised me, because I just thought it was some silly anime dating game thing, but actually how dark it turns, and also I think kind of like one of the reasons I want to play Hellblade is because of the way that it tackles, you know, the mental health side of things, and Doki Doki Literature Club brings that up as well, and it's really nice to see games, you know, bringing these things up. So no, I think those 2 were ones that really stood out for me this year. Aside, of course, some things like Wildlands, which Ghost Recon Wildlands was a game that, again, I was relatively excited for and enjoyed it, but just didn't quite deliver in a lot of ways. But then it redeemed itself by doing that Predator mini event and then the enhancements for the 1X. Those were big deals for me.
I really enjoyed Wildlands, although it's very repetitive. I put a lot of time into that game, a lot of time, and yeah, the enhancements are amazing on it as well. I still need to try this Predator mode, as you keep telling me.
You do. It makes you feel like you're in the film. I mean, I know I was cynical about it to begin with, but because it's really just an advertisement for the reboot of the film that's coming in February. But
pretty much,
once you actually go through the stuff and then the music starts and the atmosphere, it just, yeah, it really delivers. It was quite cool, and it's quite friggin' challenging as well. Holy shit! But no, yeah, that was quite good. Quite good. So what about you guys? What some your hits of 2017? What stood out for you?
Well, the games I enjoyed most weren't released in 2017. Is the problem.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of good games, but they've been like unable to get them on Xbox, or my PC wouldn't run them. That's the main issue. Yeah. Because the most enjoyable thing I played this year, I've got to say, was probably finally played Rise of the Tomb Raider, and that was brilliant. That was released in 2015, so not really got much to urge this conversation, do I? No.
Nah, but I think you're right. It's a good example of how, you know, games, or like when you look at the things you have been playing, like Warframe, you know, I mean, that's another old game that just each year getting new stuff added to it. Same with Siege and whatnot, so, you know, it's true. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of games that came out in 2017 that's like, ooh, I'd like to get that, but I never felt that, you know, Destiny 2 was the only one that really was like, I have to buy that, I have to pre-order it. Okay, Wildlands, yeah, I pre-ordered that because they suckered me in with their little pre-order bonus, bastards. But, you know, there hasn't been that many games where there's a lot of stuff I want to play, but it's like, wait till they're on a nice discount or something.
Of the games I bought that were released this year, they've all disappointed me. I think one that I buy that came out this year hasn't disappointed me. I'm looking for the list. It's just nothing.
That science just sums it all up, really, doesn't it?
I haven't got to play them, or
that's fair enough.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Jay? What are your hits of 2017 for you?
Once I hate to say it, Destiny 2 when we first had it, it was fantastic. I really did put a lot of time into it, did enjoy it. And I think that's half the reason why I'm so upset with what's happened with it.
Destiny 2 before Endgame, Game of the Year.
It was, as much as people slayed the story, and you know, to be fair, looking back, the story wasn't fantastic, but I enjoyed it. It was a lot better than what Destiny 1 was, and I felt like they were moving in the right direction.
The story was a game, damn it.
Boy, how did I hear those words. Ghost Recon Wildlands, beautiful. Really have enjoyed that. I really did enjoy it. I haven't been back to it recently since they've done a lot of the updates. I think partly, which is part of the problem, is that I do feel it has just become sort of same old. In terms of it's very repetitive. I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong. I do want to try the PvP out at some point though, because that looks like it could be quite good. In terms of games I've missed out, I wish I had got. Horizon Zero Dawn is, as I've said before, top of my list on that, and it is a game I will buy next year at some point, because it's come out with really good reviews, and I've actually seen it, and it looks stunning. And again, now the DLC's there as well, there's a lot more for me to be able to play with it. So it's a game that I was pretty upset. Well, not upset with God, I didn't get. Cuphead was another one that I wouldn't mind, but I thought it did really well. Again, probably partly just due to the niche market there again for those sort of games. But yeah, I'm pretty much the same as what you two are. I've been playing a lot of games that didn't come out this year, so I spent a lot of time playing Siege, because I'm a sucker for PvP games, as we all know.
True.
But other than that, my single player games, I think especially with the last quarter of this year, having started a new job, and with Destiny 2 to begin with taking up a lot of my time, I just haven't really found time to be able to play as much as I'd like to at the moment.
You know, I think it's quite interesting. You know, you're just kind of making a point there that stands out for me. When I look at a lot of these other, like, people's lists of, like, the best games of this year and whatnot, blah, 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 it seems that so many of them are single-player experiences. You know, when we look at things like Assassin's Creed Origins, when we look at Zelda, Horizon Zero Dawn, it seems that, you know, a lot of like these top picks are these very kind of solo experiences, which I find that interesting, because when I see a lot of the complaints that people make about, you know, like not PvP based games like Siege, but your stuff like Destiny 2, your stuff like The Division, and that seems to be like one of the biggest complaints, where folk are like, oh, you know, it sucks as a solo player. You know, we're lucky because, yeah, we can't always get together all the time, but, you know, more often than not, we try to come together and play stuff. You know, we've got our group that we can play with. And, I mean, I know we've discussed it before, but it's a very different experience when you have that. You know, we played through Destiny together. We played through a lot of The Division together. In the early days of us playing Warframe, we did a lot of that stuff together. And, you know, it's a very different experience compared to someone who is just completely on their own. And
I think that's a very good point in terms of, if you look at the games that really, really have been struggling, in terms of that, it is things like Destiny and Division's hard because, as you say, people like their PvP games where it's just PvP focused, and then you've got your single player story-driven games that, as you say, a lot of people like for that solo reason. When you try and put those two together, it's something that's very hard to balance and get right.
I think it's somewhat of a pushback against what games companies have been telling us we want. It's like, you don't buy our single-player games. You want multiplayer games.
Yeah.
But no, I like good single-player games. Make those, please. But
No, you're right. For some reason, they've gotten this real big push for making games more social, and it's weird because whilst, you know, social media is, of course, like, just a root part of so many people's lives nowadays. I mean, the amount of time that people spend on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, you know, is ridiculous. And I mean, I've gotten to the point now where I'm starting to call it anti-social media, because like, honestly, because the way that some people interact is just shocking. You know, people trolling each other, all that kind of stuff, but even, like, you know, proper actual abuse. And then even watching people who are, like, trying to actually just voice an opinion. You know, there's no malice. They're just trying to let, you know, say, oh, hey, this, that, and this. And they're just getting attacked. They're getting just dived on. And people, how dare you share that? But you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. People just, I don't know what's gone wrong with the world, but, you know, guess what? We all have opinions. We have it ourselves. We'll disagree on things. You know,
it's okay to not agree.
Yeah, life would be boring if everyone thought the same thing. And it just, for me, social media has really gone anti-social. And I think that our gaming habits are going back that way as well, where at first it was cool and it was a really neat thing to have, like, co-op, you know, being able, oh wow, you can play with folk, this is cool, this is great. And then we got to that point where games are just, it's fundamental to them. You know, you cannot go into a raid in Destiny on your own. You can try now with that new guided game crap, but that's not working that well. Or The Division, you know, yes, you can matchmake with random people to do incursions, but why would you? You know, people just, it's different when you've got friends like us who will go in and play something with each other. But it seems a lot of folk out there do not want to meet people during their gaming experience. They don't want to be out of their comfort zone and deal with people that they don't know, you know, personally. And that's why I think these single-player games are just, they're coming back into the forefront. Where folk are like, oh, this is great. I don't have to worry about anyone else. I can just enjoy a nice story and have fun. I mean, I was always that way. I loved my single-player games. You know, I could just sit there and play RPGs all day long and whatnot. No, it's an interesting turn. But then on the other hand, you've got games like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which has just, what is it? I think, did it not hit like 30 million the other week there? I think they said.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, of course, I think, what, 25 million of that will be China. But no, I jest. They don't... They've got their own knockoffs over there, don't they, of PlayerUnknown's?
Yeah.
Knockoffs for everything over there.
But, you know, that's one that is a prime example of an online game, but I know you can play it in squads and 2s and 3s and whatnot, but I think most folk that enjoy that game really like the solo queue and go up against folk in a very anti-social way. They're just... I don't know. But no, 2017, some interesting different trends have occurred. You guys said it earlier, the year of the loot box. It feels that way.
It does.
It's dominated almost entirety of gaming for this year.
It's just dominated the news as well, hasn't it? I mean, you've had all the stuff about gambling, with countries seeing it as gambling and wanting to stop them from being in there. The fact that they've had to now release, I think China have made it law now, so games have to release their...
Well, China started off with demanding loot boxes show their odds.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is why we get different odds on Chinese loot boxes and rest of the world loot boxes in Overwatch and stuff like that.
I am going to call this year of the loot box, I think, to be fair. No.
Yeah.
It's weird, because I mean,
you would not be wrong for doing so.
I mean, microtransactions have been around for decades, but, you know, like, we've been used to that, we've been used to DLCs and all that, and that's all fine, but there's just something that, with that, the whole loot box mechanic that just... It's just crazy. You know, like you say, folk are just really... They're hung up on it, and like just about every new game that's coming out nowadays, oh no, you have to have some type of feature like that in it. That seems to be the new business model. I just don't know. Strange. Very, very strange. Oh well. So we'll just have to...
They finally went too far with it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's fair enough. I mean, in the real world, outside of gaming and tech, 2017's also been pretty ridiculous and crazy as well. We won't even talk about that stuff, but you know, we know 2017 has been a very, very strange year. And then same on the tech side of things. Yeah, there's been a lot of cool things that came out, but then also a lot of crap things as well. And you know, we'll just have to see what happens next year. We're not going to talk about next year today, though. We're going to wait until next year. Because I think that's what we'll do next week, eh, guys? We'll have a little, what we hope. If 2017 is the year of the loot box, then what is 2018 going to be? we'll have to have a think on that. And
that's the year of companies getting their shit together. That's what I hope.
You're hopeful there, mate. You're hopeful.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see. Because, I mean, like you say, there's been a lot of stuff happened this year. I mean, you know, on all the sides. Nintendo, I think, has really shone. They've stood out a lot this year. Sony, they've had some amazing exclusive titles come out. And then, of course, Microsoft had the Xbox One X, and that's been a very unique situation there, where it's not a new platform. It's just an upgraded platform, but bringing true 4K gaming into people's living rooms is quite interesting. And we'll just have to see what happens actually with the old Scorpio, because it looks like they're going to be adding mouse and keyboard support very shortly for the Xbox One, so that'll be a bit of a game changer, literally, for the folk out there.
I mean, Blizzard will have to take out the thing they put in to stop people using mouse and keyboard on their console. Even that up. Yep. They said it was unfair, and now it's like, oh well, everyone can do it now.
Yep. It's crazy.
Not they will, because console players are used to controllers.
Oh well. But yes, so hey, this is the last Jungle Drums of 2017. Thank you to everyone who has watched us week after week. Of course, thank you to you guys for hanging out with me week after week, Jay and Gim. You know, it's always much appreciated. No. Well, the weeks you can make it, Jay.
I've got nothing better to do in my life. I mean, I really enjoy it.
And hopefully we'll have some nice, tasty news in 2018. We'll have to see what happens. In the meantime, check out scholarlygamers.com whilst you're here on the website. We've got some other little articles coming up. The SG Game of the Year, which has basically been chosen by taking everyone's top threes and, you know, working out points and then ranking it and coming out with an actual top 3 games for scholarly gamers. Likewise, there should be a little mini article as well talking about each person's individual Game of the Year nominations for those that participated. And yeah, that's really about it. We should have video content resuming at some point in January. Things like Armchair Gaming, of course, the Unbearable Gamer, and Streaming Fundamentals. We've just been taking some time off during the holiday period, but make sure to check out Twitch. There's plenty of streamers from Scholarly Gamers that are still playing all sorts of things. You know what to do. Go to the Twitch community page for Scholarly Gamers, or likewise just look for the hashtag Scholarly Gamers on Twitch itself or on Facebook and Twitter. I think that is us for this year. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will catch you next year. Well, it's only next week, but catch you next year, and we'll talk about our predictions and what we hope that 2018 will deliver. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.